Who knew it was that easy? Someone phone Mind and tell them mental illness, all they need to do is go for a little walk. Hello and welcome to a very jingly version of the Popcorn Club. We're feeling so frigging festive that even Russ is wearing a Christmas jumper and we're sat in front of the Christmas tree. This week we went to go and see The Hobbit. Something Armies,
the Battle
5
of
Eagles,
5 Armies, Heels.
Smaug. What's it called? The Battle of 5 Armies. What's it about?
Well,
What's the general premise for anyone who doesn't know?
It's the last of Peter Jackson's Hobbit trilogy. The dwarves have captured Smaug's gold in the mountain, but now the elves and the orcs and various other forces have now decided they want it for themselves.
Something about a mountain, coins, dragons, everyone's fighting. That's pretty much the gist that I got. I've never been a massive Lord of the Rings fan, but I do appreciate how, as in the films, I like the books, but I appreciate how the books, the Lord of the Rings trilogy of books, lent themselves to kind of a trilogy of films.
There were three books. So,
made sense. Hobbit, I really like as a book. I read it as a child, or I had it read to me.
It's much more slight than the
In no
Lord
way does it justify having 3 films made out of it. It doesn't work, in my opinion. And not only 3 films, but 3 bloated films at that. Like, in total, how many hours of film is there to this small book that I think is about 300 pages?
Too many, really.
It's like 9 hours. It doesn't take 9 hours to read the book, so I don't understand how they've managed to eke 3 films out of it.
I'm sensing you weren't a fan.
Is the book such a nice, fun tale? They've just bloated it and puffed it up to make money. Again, it's this thing about, like we talked about it with the Hunger Games a couple of weeks ago. They've just done it for money, and I just wish Peter Jackson had stuck to his guns and gone, do you know what? Done Lord of the Rings, that went pretty well. Don't like the idea of 3 films.
Did he ever stand by?
Well, he originally he wasn't.
Stand by
as in, I don't know if he ever said no on the basis of that, but he originally wasn't going to do it, was he?
No, originally he was, and then he wasn't, and then Guillermo del Toro came in, and then he left again because of timing, and then and they came back. So
well, it was a bad decision for him to go back. He should have just left on the Lord of the Rings high. If it had been done as a tight 1 film fun movie, could have been something really great, but it's not, and they didn't. Bad them.
Despite the fact that it is definitely overlong and it is bloated, there is still stuff that makes it worthy of being seen. Martin Freeman does a really good job as Bilbo, but the sad thing is he's just not in the film as much as he was the other 2. The best thing about the first film is Bilbo Baggins in the sort of caves with Smeagol. I think he has a lot more involvement in the second film, and it's much more of a sort of kind of a chase film. But what you do get of Bilbo, I say, in the third film is really good. It's really great, but
it's not enough of
he's just sidelined by all the other action going on and around him, which is, it is a big shame.
Talking of the action, we went to see it in some kind of ridiculous format, which I didn't like.
High frame rate, yes. Yeah. Which I think everyone's already kind of had enough of already.
I wish you, and not only with that, but it was stupid 3D. I did not consent to this. I had no idea what I was walking into. But it made my head hurt. I couldn't see what action was going on. It was just too blurry and fast, and I couldn't see what was happening to who, and that was 70% of the film. So it was really difficult. It made it really difficult. I think it does lend itself to
certain parts of it. It's like I managed to miss seeing it in 48 frames a second or the first 2 films, so I kind of, even though I knew the reaction to it had been less than positive, I kind of wanted to see at least one of the films that way before they'd gone, because I don't think anyone else is going to do it, because it's kind of has been somewhat of a failed experiment. It does make a lot of the characters and a lot of the sets look really false and fake and kind of like TV, but I think it kind of in a way does lend itself to some of the bigger landscapes. I didn't have as big of a problem with it for those. And by the end of the film,
I actually leant towards you at the beginning, like after about 5 minutes, and was like, Russ,
what have you done?
I really hate this.
Despite the fact the films are really long, I still think it takes a few shortcuts with some of the characters. Like seeing all the elves, not the elves, no, it's not elves, it's dwarves, do their thing in the last couple of films as a little unit was really fun.
Yeah, the camaraderie between them. You don't get as much of that this time at all.
The head of the dwarves, is it Thorin Oakenshield?
Yeah.
His character is completely changed and he's consumed by sort of the greed and for the gold, and you don't really see that change happen.
No.
The other dwarves come along and say, oh, by the way, he's gone a bit nuts. I could have quite liked to have seen...
the descent into madness. And also, all that happened was he just went for a little walk and then he was like, I'm fine now.
By the way.
I've gotten over it.
Thorin's greed is almost a metaphor for the way that Peter Jackson approached the films, where he's just to say he's lost the heart and soul of the original films and tried to.
He does look a bit like Peter Jackson.
Such a in attempting to sort of recreate the Lord of the Rings trilogy and try and squeeze or stretch out this small book that doesn't demand it just for the money. He's lost the meaning.
Someone should have told Peter Jackson to go for a little walk. And think about what he's done. And there are lots of other bits that they kind of had to like make up that aren't in the book to like pad it out, that just didn't get enough.
Well, Evangeline Lilly's character was, her whole character was made up.
Yeah, and it just doesn't work. I just didn't,
The way they split the films as well meant that you kind of lose Smaug within the first 5 minutes.
That's the big set piece to open the film, is how Smaug. I know him as Smaug because that's how I read it in my mind when I had the books read.
Well, everyone says Smaug.
And I don't like Smaug. I think it's Smaug.
Well, either way.
His downfall is the first big action set piece, isn't it? So,
and it's quite well done.
Yeah,
and then you kind of have to wade through a lot of shit for the next hour or so.
It's a long time to spend wading through shit.
Exposition and putting all the pieces together and everyone moving into the right position.
And then suddenly it's like battle. And also, I couldn't count. What are the 5 armies?
I
had dwarves, I had elves, I had people from the town, Lake Town or whatever it was.
And the 2 different orc armies. The 2 orc armies. The first one, which is the one they battle, and the second one, which turns up halfway through the battle with the flying bits.
You mean the eagles? What were the eagles? Also, how did the battle stop? Like, all the eagles came in and then it just stops.
Well, it was Sylvester McCoy came back with his animals.
Animals. And also there were the things that came under the ground and like I forgot they suddenly appeared worms. And then nothing happened. Like there were loads of bits like that.
They were just tunnelling. Yeah, they were almost the conduits.
It was kind of like, oh my god, they've got these like crazy things that are like their secret weapon, and then you saw them come out of the ground and then nothing else happened. Billy Connolly's character was completely underused. Like there were loads. Was he almost
entirely CGI, or was there any of actually him? I couldn't work out if. And that was really distracting. When he appeared, I was like, I recognised the voice instantly.
Yeah.
And then looked at him and was like, none of him looks real.
It just felt like they crammed lots of stuff, extra stuff in there, things to like pad it out, but then didn't utilise them effectively. Do you know what I mean? They just kind of ran with some bits, completely ignored other bits, started some bits and forgot about them. It just felt like an unfinished, incoherent piece of work.
At least it only has the one ending, unlike The Return of the King, which has about 12 of them.
Puddings? I was going to say puddings. No, popcorns.
I think it's a mixed bag, and much like last week's film, I feel like there's
a mixed bag of popcorn. Salty and sweet.
A lot of good, a lot of bad. I think I'm going to have to go with a 6.5.
Oh, no. Man, I'm going with a 5, and that's being generous.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So next week, it was a toss-up between Night at the Museum and Dumb and Dumber 2. We've gone for Dumb and Dumber 2 on the basis of Jeff Daniels. So, Jeff, don't let us down. I have a feeling he's going to let us down.
I already feel let down by just the lack of films.
It's fine. It'll be a little, and you'll get that video in your inboxes if you have clicked the subscribe button next week on Friday, which I believe is Boxing Day. So that'll be our Christmas present to you.
Oh dear.
Also, have you been watching #Popcorn Festive Fest? Because if you haven't, where have you been? We have been reviewing some great movies, Elf, Home Alone, and some not so great movies like Rare Exports. Links to the playlist of that is down below in the description box. And give this video a thumbs up if you like Hobbits. We'll see you next week. Bye! And that is all there is to it. Let's all go and eat some figgy pudding. I just grabbed my boobs. That was fun. What?